Do you want to build some gunpla? Da-na-na-na-na-na. Can't sing anymore cause Disney will strike my channel down. Hey, what's going on everybody? Dave back again, and today is the first part of the Providence Gundam build. So how I'm going to end up doing this is I am going to do in sections, listing the parts that are used from this kit. Look down in the description, there'll be a listing of all of the part numbers. As well, when I do each video, I will be highlighting each of the pieces that you end up using. Hopefully this will end up helping out some people. If it helps out one person, just super thankful for that. Something I have ended up finding out in doing this build is there are some pieces that get trimmed, cut away, things like that they do not show in the instructions, and that is another reason that I am super excited to show this to you. Is as I learn stuff, I want to share it with you. So here is the parts that are all used in the Providence Gundam Master Grade, and as you can see, there was a chunk that I had to cut off of the collar here. This part here gets removed. Here's the parts list that ends up being used for the resin dress up kit. And as you look at the instructions, nowhere in here does it show you what ends up getting cut off. Now, one of the things I've found studying these the best I can, if you look, some of these pieces, they look like they're rotten. And what they've done is they've used Photoshop or something and distorted the master grade pieces so that you can tell what gets used, and then the clean pieces are their parts. Now, it's still kind of confusing looking at this to the different sections of what part of the collar gets trimmed away or not. I ended up finding that this piece here actually ends up being perfect with that cut back to there. But yeah, as I find things like that, I am going to end up showing them to you. Like I said before, I will be highlighting in the manual, and I will be putting a list down there as far as what parts from the master grade get used. That way you can just look at it and go through and trim them off or highlight them in your own manual. As you can see, there's a lot of pieces like these rubbery bits and shell pieces that, you know, there's no point in trimming them off. Now the head, I'm not going to end up showing how to build it because it just left stock. Same with the backpack. I will end up building them up and showing you what it ends up looking like that way for the full review. And this is going fast enough that I think I might be able to get this all done this week and be ready to prime it for next weekend, which I am super stoked, and I hope you guys are too. So taking a look here we are with the master grade all built up, and I have done the cleaning of the seam lines and everything. I haven't determined what parts that I want to glue together, and like right here, I want to add a panel line over on this side to match that seam that's right there. This I don't have pushed in all the way because there's hosing that ends up going in there, but this is pretty much all ready for the conversion. Now I have cleaned up one side to go onto here. The other side still needs some cleanup, but I just want to show you how this goes together. By the way, some of you may recognize this mat from way back when I started. Yep, I dug this out of the closet because I wanted a dark background to be able to show this off better than the white glass table. So the first thing that the instruction manual shows you is this replaces the Vulcans that sit on the shoulder and turns them into super cannons. So I ended up trimming down. All of these pieces are trued up. Now this is going to end up looking a little funky, but you put it together. And then this is the Vulcan itself. There is a photo etch, I believe, that goes inside of here. The photo etching I will end up putting in later on, but just slide that in, and then that's going to slide into there. You are going to want to glue this because it's not going to stay together just by gravity, unfortunately. Now to get it out of the way, I did have a mishap with this piece, which matches this piece. It is, you can see it's super thin in there, and I'm going to reinforce this one, but I had to do my super glue and baking soda trick on here, and I needed to trim that up a little bit. I was putting it in and I was getting a little aggressive when I was sanding it, and I ended up snapping that off, but it ended up kind of working out because as this slides in, this now sits closer to the body, if you can see that. Where putting on this side, it actually lifts up above the body a little bit more. So we're going to end up fidgeting with that in the long run, but I think it came out pretty good. I'm going to reinforce this side with some glue and baking soda just to make sure that it's nice and secure. Now some of these pieces I can't attach on right now because they get glued, but you guys will get the general premise. Now looking at the instructions, man, they are super vague. I mean, they give you the parts numbers of where they end up going, but they're not super clear. I wish And this is a suggestion for them. Instead of doing the whatever you guys did to separate what the master grade parts are and everything, why not do them in gray and the resin parts in tan, or separate the color somehow. That way people can see what gets used where. So the first pieces that they actually show to go on is these sides here. Again, this one I have to clean up. I have not sanded on it that much or anything. Where this side I've already trued it up. I trued up the panel lines that are on there, making it look nice and crisp. There are a few just edges that I need to hit up. All right guys, with these on, what you want to do is grab the longer of these two cables right here, and it is just going to slide over this peg like that, and you can see how that ends up going. Now next piece to end up going on, you can either remove this front piece or do like I've just done and slide that in. Now remember, do not press this back piece down all the way because you're going to need to be able to get into here. Once you end up with your cabling there, there's that piece. We're going to add this one. It's going to plug right into that socket. Those are going to plug in just like that. Do the same for the other side. And I like how they made this locking mechanism back here to hold those two pipes together. Now we're going to add on this side, slip that right in there, attach the back side. And now at this point, you can put on your back piece, make sure everything is all squeezed together. And of course, once you are actually primed and everything, you will be gluing this together, so you don't have to worry about that. Just loosely fit the back piece on there. So one of the things I ended up finding about this part right here is, so you can see how they end up going together right there, and it just barely fits over that peg. So we might end up putting a rod in here to extend it, because for it to sit properly and to look good in there, it needs to be forward, and it just barely ends up fitting. So what we might end up doing is just adding some magnets to get that to stay into place. Once it's glued, there's not going to be an issue, but it does just fit in there really loose. Now what I want to do is I want to take this is the nose cone, and that just slides right in, and you can see that's why you have to trim off that piece right there. So for the other side, I'm just going to take this, line it up. So getting that other side together, we're just going to slip it right onto the peg, just like so. I do need to do some finagling with this to get those angles just right, because the parts are fitting loose on there. I'm going to have to do some manipulation, some warming of this, and then do some readjustment, because these pieces right here should line up and be even, and they're not. So I need to use a hair dryer and just even those up so they're nice and clean. And then for your cannon, once it is all glued together, it is going to sit up onto there just like that. And of course it's loose, it's not glued, so but once I get all glued together, I will end up showing you guys what that all ends up looking like. Now this piece right here is going to go right there, and this is the one bad thing. It's kind of janky when it's not glued together, but we will fix that, and I will show you how I do that in a later video once we get all together. I may use some blue tack in there. I may just do a dab of glue just to hold everything together. I may even be able to figure out how to glue these sections together so I can just pull them off in sections. The last piece that you're going to end up attaching is, it has one of these for each side. You want to have the little venti side to the front, and that is going to go right here, and it just gets glued on. So I don't see why I can't end up gluing that later on. I think it's just not an afterthought, but just something done after. So we're going to end up getting that all taken care of. I think if I modify this, these side pieces actually fit so well that I can actually line this all up and everything, attach it to the side plate, and then I can just slide everything off as one piece. But I have to manipulate this pipe a little bit, maybe shorten it or something, because the only reason that it's there is just to hold that in place, but it's not long enough to push that forward so that it's into the vent. Alright boys and girls, I hope you have enjoyed this. If you have, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And I hope this has helped out at least one person in building theirs, so that you know what to trim and how the process goes for doing this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish sanding, truing these up, and figure out how to get this all together. I will do an update video later on if I find a prime way to end up doing this, but stay tuned because I will end up doing another section here in probably either tomorrow or on Tuesday. It'll be the arms, or I'll probably actually do the waist neck. That way we can just work our way around the kit and add things on. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I really want to thank you guys for your support. You have blown away the last video. I was super shocked to see how many views it had in just a 12-hour period. I love you guys to death. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Peace out, YouTube.